Welcome, everyone, to Cisco Canada's Virtual Kitchen. Learning something new in 2022 with Unilever Foods. I have co-host Amy, the legend, plant-based legend. You always say that and you laugh. But welcome, Amy, to today's segment on Unilever's show. You are the guest host, rock star, plant-based professional chef. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to see what Unilever has in store for us today in terms of their initiatives and their sustainable and plant-based recipes and products. It's just very exciting times.
And this is a huge subject, the plant-based, right? Like you're in the right gig, by the way, of being the pro at this, because I see it everywhere. It is everywhere. It is growing. We had some stuff on the show yesterday on the statistics, and they're huge.
Yeah, it's massive. It's huge. It's growing. It's expanding, and rightfully so. People are caring a lot more about sustainability, about their health, and about animal welfare, and looking for more plant-based tips and tricks on how to cram those fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, and good quality plant-based protein onto their menu.
It's exciting. So we're going to do a little intro. Then we're going to bring in some other rock stars and some rock star chefs, big cheeses, and we'll be right back after this.
I can't wait.
Awesome. So we have Malika here from Unilever. Welcome, Malika.
Hi, thanks, Jay.
You have the coolest name, by the way. I love you.
Thanks.
Best name ever. It's almost as good as Amy, though. Anyways, I'm going to let Malika. You got some amazing insights and information for us. I'm going to let you take over, you and Amy, and I'll just hang out here.
Okay. Thanks, Jay. So, hi everyone. Malika, Operator Marketing Manager for Unilever Food Solution. I'm pleased to be part of the second UFS show today. So before we jump to the culinary portion, I will be taking you through some market insights around the plant-based trend. And you may ask yourself, why plant-based as a focus? This is not a new trend. But like Amy said, that's exactly right. Plant-based is no longer just a trend. For many, it has become a lifestyle. 43% of Canadians actively trying to incorporate more plant-based foods into their diets. And sales of plant-based foods grew by 16% for the year ending 2019, and that growth year over year has continued since. And a quick look at Google Trends in Canada will tell you searches for plant-based diet and plant-based meals keywords has shown significant growth of 140% and more. In recent years, plant-based has stayed on menus, got an increased advertising investment, and we've even seen Shane double down with additional plant-based items. It appeals to all generations, but demand is off the charts for millennials and Gen Z. So it's safe to say that the plant-based diet is here to stay. I'm not seeing the slides, so I just want to make sure.
That's okay. That's my cue.
Let's bring them up. Oh, they look so great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We're on the third one.
Third slide? Awesome. Sorry. Here you go, Jay.
I summarized the first slide, I think.
Yeah,
so.
way to go.
Now let's see how the plant-based diet is broken down by population types. Although it is clear that the majority of the population is still omnivorous, which means they regularly eat both animal and non-animal products, what is really interesting is the next largest group, flexitarians, which only eat meat or fish occasionally. They represent 8% of the total Canadian population, and this segment is growing steadily and is a reflection of Canadians wanting to reduce their meat consumption. So if you're an operator, this really should be your target group. However, it's important to keep in mind that for flexitarians, meat alternatives need to be as close to meat as possible in terms of taste, texture, and look, as they do not want to sacrifice flavor. Next slide. Thank you. Now let's see how the plant-based trend has impacted the food service industry and its influence on Canadian menus. As you can see here, the menu growth rate has been amazingly high in the past 4 years, along with menu penetration showing a strong 10.1% as of 2021. When you look at restaurant types, plant-based has gained ground in multiple segments, including QSR, fast casual, and casual dining. And the growth on menu is also driven by chain restaurants and regional chains. Independent restaurants have been slower to adapt and incorporate this fast-growing trend.
Malika,
Yes?
can we ask questions? Can I ask a
Sure.
question? Okay, maybe this is for you and Amy. With the whole plant-based and stuff like that, when we went back to those other slides there and we really talked about the flexitarian at 8%, that slide right there in the 36, is some of that being driven by the cost of proteins going through the roof right now, that people are just reducing because of the cost of what proteins are at today and saying, I'm going to eat less protein, but I'm going to kind of balance between? Is there some of that factor, those percentages, because of the price we're seeing on proteins today?
I would
Does that
say
make
yes.
sense?
I would say
Yeah.
yes. For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Clients have reached out to me just even asking, like, not making exclusively plant-based products, but how do I get more like lentils into my burger, for example, just reducing the meat to reduce cost.
Really cool. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's awesome in a sense. Not only is it, financially helps restaurants out and our industry out, but if people are also doing it for health benefits and for all the other reasons, it's a win-win-win-win, right?
Totally. I agree.
Totally. Sorry, I got lots of questions. Sorry, Malika, I'm messing up your
No, that's
presentation.
totally fine.
I got lots of questions. Amy knows that. So anyways, I'll let you go. Sorry for interrupting.
No, perfect. We want to make it as interactive as possible. So when we look at menu trends on what type of menus plant-based items have made their way, we're seeing American here, but in terms of translating that to Canadian, it can be considered as, a varied menu. That's what's leading the way, but Mexican, burgers, and Italian also show good menu incidence, and grouped together represent another 30% of total menu types. So nothing to be ignored here. And when it comes to top applications, burgers and Mexican are still at the top of the chart. I think for everyone, burgers are no surprise, as the majority of large QSR chains like A&W, McDonald's, and Wendy's now have a plant-based burger option on their menu. So when choosing to integrate plant-based meat products, it's important to understand the top triggers that will make a consumer choose a plant-based burger over a regular meat burger, for example. And those triggers are great taste, sustainability, of course, meat-like flavor, and also the buzz that they've been hearing. So seeing also from those big QSR chains. So those are all factors that will influence that decision to switch from a meat burger to a veggie burger. Keep in mind that plant-based protein also offer a platform for creativity that you'll probably see later today, and innovation, and an opportunity for reformulating existing dishes and creating new dishes that you'll see from our chefs later.
Malika, I think that's exciting because, Amy, you've been a chef for like 50 years. Right? Like, this is you're like, Jay, that was not funny. But it's exciting because it gives us a whole new place to play in now.
It is really amazing. I remember when I first became a plant-based chef, I've always cooked, but really started focusing on the plant-based stuff about, 15 years ago. And yeah, it just opens your mind and opens up possibilities in terms of inspiration, in terms of ingredients. I know we're going to get into some really interesting and innovative ingredients today, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think it's we look at what millennials and Gen Z are Instagram, like they always say, what was the line a couple of years ago that I think was over in Japan, that the camera eats first is what they used to say, right? And I think, and I've had millions of shows on plant-based on our network. Yeah, they're always beautiful. They're always gorgeous. And in restaurants, we always eat with our eyes. I used to say that now, right? Back in the day. And it really does make you want to enjoy the food, and the health benefits and everything else. I think is just that additional bonus, as well as this beautiful food. Right.
I agree.
Amy, you make beautiful dishes on the show, a couple
Thank
shows
you.
you've done
And I
with
think
us.
I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of like they're nutritionally dense, but they're also beautiful. So, you know, it could be as healthy as possible or healthy as can be for you, but if it doesn't taste good, who cares, right? So, you know, exactly. Like it's beautiful, tastes good, but then guess what? It's also sustainable and looks beautiful.
See, the one thing I think I'm going to mention something here, and you know, mute me if you want, but I had Ethan Brown on the show, and Ethan's like pretty much one of the founders that really has caused plant-based to explode, right? He invented Beyond Burger and everything else, and he was a dairy farmer too, his family. The one of the things that Ethan said to me is that he wished that he went retail before he went food service, and this is really at the beginning, and I find that so fascinating in a sense of how, you know, like we look at what today and what these restaurants are producing, and just the impact it's having on our industry, right? Off of just at that time, it was just a burger, right? That they came out, and now look at it, and it's just exploded, and it's so exciting. And I'm excited to have our chefs on and see what they create here in a few minutes. But this is a whole new world, and I think from a restaurant perspective, why wouldn't you be doing this? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, it's scary in a way, but then you have companies like HSI and folks like Amy and folks like Unilever that are going to help you out and support you in this, because it is a new space, but it opens up in the world. It really does. Here's my 2 cents. Sorry, I'll be quiet again.
Well said. You're here.
So if you're thinking of, you know, adding some plant-based item, we wanted to share a bit of a menu strategy and some tips on how to best position plant-based dishes on your menu. Oh, is everything okay?
No, I'm excited about this because this is what operators have the hardest time is where we do. Now, I think we always look at the bonuses of what COVID's given us. COVID, geez, we'll call it COVID for now. No, COVID has given us the digital menu in most restaurants, right? So you can adjust and change these things up on the fly, right? That's the beauty. The print menus are, you know, you may do that, but it's expensive than giving everyone a QR code, right? So anyways, I'm excited about this part. Sorry.
No problem. And so we wanted to share an example that you see here from Panera, who recently conducted a study with the World Resource Institute about the impact of renaming a vegan option. So they asked consumer, as you can see here, which would you rather eat? So the first one, sweet sizzling green beans and crispy shallots, or light and low carb green beans and shallots. So I think probably for most of you, the choice is obvious. So the first one was definitely the most popular one. And actually by renaming the item with a flavor cue instead of naming it by labeling it as vegetarian and low fat, which is more boring, they saw a 17% lift in sales.
Now, why is that, Malika? Sorry, I have to ask that why.
Well, it just, you know, it sounds, I think, very much more appetizing, the one on the left.
Yeah.
And even though people are making these choices, they would still want to feel like they're indulging, you know, and they're treating themselves, and it's going to be good and tasty. So,
yeah, not missing out on anything.
Yeah,
is it also that we just don't want to be told that we have to keep eating like diet? Yeah. I remember the word like diet, you know, like it's just not a good word anymore, right?
No. Absolutely. If you're focusing on the less or like the low carb, low calorie, immediately people are like, oh, this is not going to taste good.
The value isn't going to be there, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
You're right. Yeah. I remember doing that. I forget when we were doing that on menus, but we were removing some of those things in the menu. Like, do you remember when like vegan food and vegetarian food were coming on menus, and it was like you had to have one on your menu? Yeah. And then we started going, well, people would be like, because we messed it up at the beginning. Like, seriously, folks, at the very beginning when we were introducing that, we didn't know what to do. So we were messing it up a little bit. But then as people figured out and it got better and better and better, right? We said, well, let's stop reducing that because people didn't see the value. And then you couldn't get the price points out of it either. So anyway, sorry. This is my 2 cents again.
No, that's totally right. That's totally right. And we're not really seeing any low fat on menus actually.
No, anymore. Yeah. Sorry.
So one last tip, if you can go to the next slide, that we wanted to share with you today, kind of related. So is about skipping the vegetarian section altogether and keeping all menu options. Again, it's the same reasons that we were just talking about. People don't want to feel like they're
segregated, right? Like you segregate those vegans over in the corner. And it was always in the back part of the menu at the corner of the bottom, right? And then we thought we put a little fake broccoli picture beside it or something, and the value just dropped. So I love this. This is great, Malika. Sorry.
I was just dining at a restaurant like a few weeks ago, and they came out with little signs that said vegan. So I had this big vegan sign in front of me, and then
serious
gluten-free sign, and I was like, no. So they clearly haven't been taking your course.
No, they got to learn from this stuff, Malika. This is so important.
Very important.
Right, this is so important stuff.
Yeah,
and that menu's done right, by the way.
Sometimes they already had vegetarian items or vegan. Especially when you look here as the example with pasta, they probably already have. So, there's no reason why they should put that separately. It's already part of their menu. And really what you're seeing here is then when you mix it with others, it can double how much you order. So if you want to boost your sales, I think this is a great tip to keep in mind.
I love it. We need more of this. We need more of this. Because people just don't know how to do it. Like, it's the old mindset, right? Mm-hmm. And like I always say, the food is so beautiful; it should be put in here. Right? Like well done. Love this. Sorry. Anyways,
or sometimes what operators do, what I've seen is rather than having a separate section or just putting a little symbol next to it, so it's a little more subtle than feeling like you need to ask for a separate menu. Yeah, and you're part of a different group.
Yeah, we saw that with gluten-free. We saw that with gluten-free too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we saw that with gluten-free. Very cool.
So that was actually the end of the marketing insights portion for today. As you know, plant-based is a vast subject and it has many layers. So we weren't obviously going to cover everything today, but I hope you learned a few things. And I was able to pique your interest for the next portion of today's session, which will be really interesting and exciting, I think. Where you will learn more about plant-based cuisine, but also North Future 50 with Chef Kyla and Chef Rob, and Amy will be staying with us too.
Amazing.
We have Chef Kyla, the legend, also known as the chef that has been on my show more than anyone in the whole world.
She's great.
Up next. She's great. So we're gonna cut to a quick commercial. Malika, thank you so much for that insights. This is really good stuff. Like, I just think we need more of it. So.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So let's roll a commercial. Amy, is that cool with you?
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back and we're going to bring the legend. You're like my Ed McMahon, Carla. All right. She's going to get cranky. Anyways, we'll be right back. This is awesome, by the way. Pay attention to this Fair Kitchens commercial. This is also one of my favorite things. So anyways, we'll be right back, folks. Welcome back to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. Amy.
Good beats.
Was that good beats? That was good information, hey? That was brilliant information.
Yeah, and not necessarily as commonsensical as you would think, because you would want, you want to...
Commonsensical? Is that a word?
It's not as commonsensical as you would
think. That's brilliant. I love how smart you are.
Yeah, and it just makes sense because you don't want to feel like you have a big sign on your forehead that says vegan, right? You want to be integrated with the rest of the diners. So, and
like there's nothing wrong with that. Like you should be, look at me, I'm eating plant-based and you're not. Right?
Exactly. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for practically applying the information that we just learned. Let's see. Yay!
Hello there. Hi, Amy.
Oh,
we're best buds now. And also, did I say that you compare me to Ed McMahon? I don't know. I feel like I'm slightly offended, but I'll take it. I'm still a legend. Thank you so much, Amy, for being on our show today. We're very excited about it.
I'm just a delight. I'm just delighted to be here. We have so many like-minded ideas. Oh, I've liked the ambiance.
Do you like the ambience music?
Exactly.
You're not my ear.
We just need
You're
some
not Ekman
candlelight.
Man. You're not Ekman
Um,
McMahon. You're
what are we doing
amazing,
today?
chef.
What are you making?
Well, I'm not going to be making anything quite yet. I'm actually just going to set it up really quickly for my colleague. Chef Rob is presenting a lovely dish for you, but I wanted to kind of break this up into a couple of sections. We wanted to talk about what it means for sustainable gardening, the importance of really good quality plants to be working with so that we can really entice our customers, of course, but making sure that we're also doing things sustainably because, of course, being able to maintain the environment is going to be a number one priority for us. So Jay, if you wouldn't mind, we have a quick little video that we want to show, and then we're going to head right over to Chef Rob, who's going to demo a dish for us.
Can you give us one of those video play moves?
Roll the clip, Jay.
And I always say to people, it's so difficult as a chef. We all aspire just to do incredible techniques, and I think sometimes we forget about the produce. And if it's not possible, I know everybody's not in a fortunate position like us to have this beautiful garden, but go to shops where organic and free-range products are available. There's a lot of these farms that do boxes once a week where you can buy online and they deliver at home. And I think to cut out all this GMO produced foods, I think it makes a huge difference. One of the biggest challenges that us as chefs do have at the moment is when you do get to purchase organic or free-range produce, but especially with organic stuff. I know it's price sensitive, but I think if you can create an awareness with your clientele and speak to them and showcase them what you're putting out on the plate, they'll understand why you sometimes put up a markup. And then second of all, that the organic stuff just tastes better. We as chefs have got a responsibility to give our customers the best ingredients that tastes the best.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
I grew up on a farm, so it's just so nice to see all that fresh greenage being used.
Absolutely. So a lot of really good insights there. And to elaborate on that will be our own Chef Rob.
Yay.
Do you want me to bring him in now?
Yes. I don't know how more obvious my
Yes. Hi, Rob.
Awesome.
Hello.
Welcome, Chef
Hi,
Rob.
Rob.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Chef Kyla, Chef Amy. Nice to see you all here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience, particularly with my journey that was alluded to in that video about, when I first came out of culinary school, I was working in New York City. I really was just focusing on, perfecting my technique, and the produce and the meat and seafood that came through the door. I wasn't really considering, how far it was traveling or where it was coming from. I was really just focused on technique. So I've been on a journey since I graduated culinary to the point where I had a kitchen garden program that really inspired me to move to about a 5-acre plot of land and become a hobby farmer myself, which I've been doing for roughly 4 years now. And I'm doing it in a biodynamic structure where I don't use any irrigation or chemical inputs, integrated pest management, dry farm. So the experience.
Rob, Chef.
Oh, please.
Sorry,
jump
I
in.
have questions for you. So, can we jump in?
Please.
Sorry. It's like,
Absolutely.
Jay, read the script. No, I have to ask you this now. Is this in an urban setting or is this in a rural setting?
So I'm in my kitchen here at Unilever Food Solutions kitchen in New Jersey, and I live about an hour and a half southwest of here, close to the Delaware River on the border of Pennsylvania. So it's as rural as New Jersey gets.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been to Saskatchewan, buddy.
Oh, well, we're going to be highlighting some Saskatchewan product in a bit. So, yeah, I moved out there to get some space and some land. I have 3 daughters,
Oh,
and a
man.
golden lab. My wife and I, we're struggling through this farming. I would say it gives me a deep appreciation for growers that I work with now, a much deeper appreciation. If I had to try to make a living doing this, it's incredibly hard. I'm going through the process of soil abatement and management to prepare to grow more. But even in the 1,200 square foot plot that I'm working on now, it's really difficult to have successful crops and to be able to learn and work with them. It has made me a better chef to be able to really understand when you have produce come through the door and it's like you need to coax flavor out of some of it, or you just leave it alone. Let it breathe, let it do its thing. It's perfect in that sense. So it's really given me this deep appreciation for that. And as well, it's really changed the way I approach menu engineering and development. I really look at, how can I highlight, the local produce that I have available to me, my own in some instances. But it's also about using less animal proteins. And Chef Kyle is going to take you through an amazing program that Unilever has been working on for a number of years now, called North Future 50. I won't steal her thunder, but it really is about encouraging chefs, to work their magic with these ingredients to make them craveable and delicious. And you said earlier, we eat with our eyes, and plant-forward cooking can just be, an amazing array of colors and a color palette you can work with all season long. So for me, I grow in agricultural zone 7, which, right now, nothing's growing outdoors unless it's in a hoop house, which I don't have. So it's also given me some skills and techniques that really enhance flavor from dry. I have a dehydrator back over here, dehydrating, fermenting, pickling, canning. You extend the season of the produce that you have while it's in season and fresh, and then you can do amazing things with it.
Love it.
Amy, are you jealous?
I am a little bit. You're living the dream.
Yeah, I know. That's the dream, man. That's so big.
We were southwest of here, of Toronto, and we grew a lot of our own food, and so it just is so reminiscent. Thankfully, it's still in our family. I'm 7th generation. It was established in 1834. So like everything you're saying, it's just like, bringing back memories of home. So yeah, you're living the dream.
Yeah. So Chef Rob, I got to throw a shout out to Unilever because what you're just talking about, like Amy, I don't know if you've probably come across this, but we don't typically see companies talk about this kind of stuff, right? Like we don't, right? Like for you to say this and to be a rural farmer, I'm going to call you a rural farmer. I'm from Saskatchewan, so I can say stuff that you can't yet. But that's incredible. Like that just says a big thing. I'm not here to say Unilever is amazing and everything else, which you guys are, because you've done some amazing stuff. I mean, Chef Kyle has done many things together, many shows, and talked about the amazing things. So that just shows the amazingness of your company, and for you to be able to do that, like, hats off. Like seriously, that's huge. You don't hear that. You hear that. This is where people think, and this is what I love about our show. So we can have these frank conversations. We can be open and transparent, because people think that Unilever's in a lab, and you're in a lab, and where's your lab coat and everything else, and the same kind of thing that we see. There's a lot of corporations. So what you're just talking about, you expect from a startup, small little company, which they still do those things, but for a huge company like Unilever to embrace this, it's huge. My hat's off once again.
And wait till Kyla lays it all out. It really is an amazing endeavor that we're working on.
Yeah, Chef Kyla,
I wanted to highlight
awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm excited to hear more about the North Future 50, because I feel like it's very in line with like the Eat Lancet report, Canada's Food Guide, all of the reports that are saying how we should be eating to save our planet, right?
Chef Kyla, you rock. No, I can unmute you. Are you muting yourself now? You got a fancy thing there? You can do everything?
Giving Rob his moment to shine. And
sorry, he's showing his Saskatoon lentils.
I'm definitely going to share a lot more about North Future 50 after. But I know Rob has a recipe to show. Where he's been very conscientious.
Rob, I'm messing stuff up.
It's cool. I just wanted to. So I plant lentils at the end of my usable growing season. So right around October, across all of my plots that I have cultivated, and they don't ever get to seed. It's just a great cover crop, and then I could just cut it down and grow right into it the following spring. I am going to plant lentils this year to actually get the seeds. I spoke to some lentil farmers. There are 5,000 lentil farmers in Saskatchewan right now.
Oh, I know. Like
They make
back
about
home-
95% of the lentil production in the country.
Chef Rob, it's amazing because you'll drive through the fields. Like I am literally from Saskatchewan, and I'm a farming community family. Not a family. We were outside of that. We didn't have farm. I'm sure I do somewhere, but it's amazing when you go through, because you used to go through the prairies and it was always yellow, right? The canola fields, and it was just canola. Now you go through the prairies and you will see lentils everywhere because the fields are bright red. And like they're that red color, and I think they get darker and darker as they obviously mature just before they harvest them. But when they harvest them, holy cow, the dust and the stuff when they're harvesting, it's amazing. Amazing.
The crazy thing about and hug a lentil farmer, because about 50% of the seed pods land on the ground, and there's no gleaning of lentils once they fall on the ground.
Yeah.
So they only collect about 50%
No way.
of their harvest, but it is an amazing crop because it doesn't require a ton of irrigation. If you're managing your property correctly, it's a very hardy crop. So they get a good yield, but it really is about 50% once they glean. They haven't got the technology to capture more. I'm sure it's improving every day, but it is a tough existence if you're willing to basically forfeit almost 50% of your profit. But lentils are.
I use lentils now. That's great.
What was that, Amy?
Lentils are amazing.
I will think of that every time I use lentils now. That's amazing.
Yeah. That I didn't know that, Robin. I literally live probably 10 feet from a field that is.
Yeah, I mean,
lentils.
the plants are only about like 24 inches tall when they're fully mature, so they're really low to the ground. It makes it's just a difficult collection, but worth it because they're delicious and they're super high in fiber and protein. And I'm using red lentils today.
My
Can
favorite.
you bring that? Can you show that really close?
Yeah.
Because they're
My
beautiful.
Just the
Aren't those
tiny little red lentils. And
So great in so many things.
I love using red lentils in like soups and stews because they really kind of break down quickly. But this recipe I'm going to share with you uses about 141 grams of red lentils. And then in 2 doses, you can use about 375 ml of a chicken stock. And I'm going to use the Knorr LCB because it just mixes so neatly right with the water. And don't even really have to agitate it too much. It dispersed. I'm going to bring this to a boil. I'm going to pour it over my lentils. And then I'm going to come back later and puree them in here and then add them to a little bit more broth and cook them for only about 6 to 8 minutes. And then I'm going to pour it into a mold and it's going to yield this.
What?
So this is red lentil, 100% red lentil and some seasonings outside of the Knorr liquid concentrated base. And this is such a super versatile, we'll call it a meat analog, right? You could do so much with it. You can grill it, you can hard sear it, you can eat it cold. It really is so much fun. And you can flavor it anyway. I've made a version of this with a little bit of smoke and a lot of salt and garlic and made a hot dog mold and fed it to my kids. No lie, they didn't know. So you can decrease the amount of moisture to get it a little bit firmer. But I really wanted a smooth texture here for the dish that I'm making, which is a take on a Korean dish, the bibimbap, which is a mixed rice dish. But I'm going to do the dulsat version, which they usually do in a clay pot. I'm doing it in a cast iron skillet, which creates like this crispy coat on the rice. Because we're building a plant-based dish here, and it's all about the texture. So I want crispiness, crunchiness, creaminess, and lots of different layers of flavor. So what I did with my little red lentil cake is I dredged it in some tapioca starch and deep fried it.
No.
Beautiful.
So it's this little beautiful nugget here.
I'm trying this.
I was like, Amy, we got to try this on the show.
Also,
this is amazing.
So fried.
Question for you, Rob.
Please.
Financially, just in comparison, is there any sort of financial benefits to leveraging these sort of ingredients? What do you think?
So, absolutely. Generally, and depending on subsidies, plant-based proteins like lentils should cost less per pound
Yeah.
than a quality bred, front half of a chicken.
Yeah. Or ground beef or something like that. If we're using ground
beef, yeah.
We don't say the B word, Amy. We don't say the B word.
So sorry.
There are a lot of subsidies around that, which kind of bring down the actual costs of producing those products. Whereas, so there's hidden costs that the consumer or the operator doesn't necessarily see. So there are financial benefits. There are, unfortunately, you can walk even into a retail grocery store sometimes and see the price per pound of broccoli is more than the price per pound of ground pork. Go figure. I don't know how economies work.
So Chef Rob, there was an announcement, and Amy, I'm not sure if it's HSI that sends me plant-based news every day, but it's awesome if it is. Thank you. Guess what I read this week, Rob? Is that plant-based is finally coming down in price. I reposted on my LinkedIn too. It's actually going to be cheaper than beef.
Yeah. It should.
Specifically comparing proteins, then definitely vegetables are a different thing. We're seeing cost inflate, which is problematic. But that's why we have these sort of these get-togethers. We can talk about how we can make things a little bit more cost-effective.
So you can serve these simply with a side of vegan ranch. I used our Hellmann's vegan mayo to make a little vegan ranch.
What did you put in your ranch? What did you put in it to make it ranch?
I make it a very dill-heavy ranch. Yeah. There is garlic and onion, parsley. But I'm a big fan. I'm a dill-forward.
Me too.
I love ranch.
Dill.
So I have my little faux clay pot here with our rice, which is getting nice and crispy. And then I'm just going to kind of color block this. So, there are veg that do very well over winter, tubers. So I have some sweet potatoes here, some onion, all of it cures very well and can last, seasonally. So you can really extend your garden program, not just when things are fully in season. It really is about what are those techniques to keep you on the menu all year long, thinking plant forward. So here's just some sweet potatoes, onion, some carrot, and then some pickled red cabbage. And I don't know so pickling is a great way to. You're going to get the sourness here. You're going to get the creaminess and the sweetness from the lentils.
I can hear the sizzle. I love that.
I'm going to put on a couple of my little lentil nugs.
Yum.
I need some green on here, so this is just some chive. Could be scallion.
Beautiful.
And then lastly, I have some puffed wild rice and puffed amaranth.
Wow.
Which are both are seeds. Similar to the lentil, but much different. So puffing these, this is my base for most of my granola.
Beautiful. So nutrient dense too. I love it.
Yeah, and it's going to give it texture and crunch. Give a lot of that on there. And then lastly, just give it a little pop. I'm going to put on some Hellmann's, our spicy mayo.
Love it. What do you add to the Hellmann's to make it spicy?
So the Hellmann's spicy is jalapeno.
Oh, it is spicy. Oh my goodness.
And cayenne.
Beautiful.
Jalapeno and cayenne. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm just going to put a little bit of this right here. You can mix it in as you like. But that is my take on a plant-based Korean dolsat bibimbap. Look at the color. I mean,
so beautiful.
It's going to eat well. It looks great. Has everything you need, and cabbage stretches seasonality on that. You stretch the seasonality on the sweet potatoes. Lentils, they'll last for years. Kept dry storage, or you can just have it with a side of ranch.
Beautiful.
Chef, can you make sure we get a picture of those? We'll put it up on our Instagram feed. They're awesome.
This is my lunch, but I will get a photo.
Yeah, no eating before.
Pictures.
Right, the camera eats first.
Yeah,
camera eats
definitely. First. Now, so I see you've used some really great techniques in terms of how to make plant-based dishes more enticing, because that's oftentimes what people are like, oh, it's vegan, like. How do you make it flavorful? I know I have some specific techniques, so focusing on herbs, spices, garlic, ginger, acids, citrus, vinegars, that sort of thing. give like an oomph of flavor. What is your technique when you're working with plant-based ingredients?
So it really is just, you think of all of the different layers of flavor. I'm a huge, the taste of umami and how that is associated, because umami is glutamic acid, right? So it's your body's way of saying, I need amino acid. That's why you have the sense of taste for umami. So finding ways to drive umami in these dishes is you're actually feeling, the sort of evolutionary biology of why we have an umami, taste component. So coming at it with that, and then balancing it with the bitter, sour, salty, sweet, just having a complete flavor layered explosion is how I look at that. There's lots of ways to drive umami.
Yeah, I was going to say
mushrooms,
soy sauce, miso. What else do you like to use?
Tomato. I'm a New Jersey tomato farmer, so yeah, tomato are an amazing source of umami.
Brilliant. Oh, it looks so incredible. I wish we were in your kitchen with you right now.
Wow.
I will snap a photo of this, and I will hand it over to you, Jay.
Awesome. We're going to run a quick commercial.
Thank you for inviting me.
No. First of all, amazing. Amazing, chef. Amazing. That might be the best recipe.
I'm going to try it.
Next to the next one here coming up. But we're going to run a quick commercial that we've had on the show. I just love that, man. Plus, it's from back home. And we're going to run a quick commercial here, folks. And we'll be right back with not the Ed McMahon, but the other rock star chef we have. And she's not going to let that go. Anyways, we'll be right back after these quick messages.
Hello. How amazing is Chef Rob?
Oh, blowing my mind. You didn't warn me about that. You didn't warn me.
He really, the things he can put on that resume are amazing. Wow. And that dish looked phenomenal.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. I think, as I'm watching him and I'm thinking, people can cook a piece of meat, you can cook a steak, and it's going to taste really good. It does take some technique and skill to really craft vegetables in that way. Not to say that it needs to be difficult, but it definitely is. I'm sure you can attest to, Amy. Yeah. It involves a lot more thoughtfulness.
Yeah, I could not agree more. It's but once you learn that skill, once you learn that technique, it's just like breathing. And it's just applying what you already know, really, but you're applying it to plant-based ingredients. As I felt like I'm much more creative in the kitchen as opposed to just frying a steak or relying on the animal fats and animal flavors to really drive the dish. You're having to be creative.
Yeah, and different than, picking a piece of protein and saying, okay, I have this. What is the dish going to look like around it? Exactly. Instead, it's giving a variety of different ingredients, like equal showtime.
I love that.
Right. So I am very excited to share with everybody. Some of you may already know of it because we've been really working on this program for quite a few years within Unilever. And as you know, one of our brands is Knorr. And with this, we have worked with the World Wildlife Fund and a variety of different partners to identify different ingredients, predominantly fruits and vegetables, seeds, legumes, that we have seen have a positive environmental impact, are sustainable, are different from the crops that we typically utilize, that we consume the most of in our diets that we see today. So I'm going to show, or Jay's going to show, a short little video that explains it a little bit more. And then I'm going to be demoing a dish using some of those ingredients. So if you could roll the video, Jay.
You got it.
75% of the global food supply comes from 12 plants and from 5 animal species. This isn't very good for the environment, and for chefs it makes the variety of ingredients quite low. To address this problem, Noor has brought together the list of Future 50 ingredients, from beans, tubers, pulses to algae and sprouts. Getting to know these Future 50 foods gave me fresh ideas of replacing common ingredients that I used to work with in my kitchen. Get creative with more vegetables. So, for me as a chef, it means I can use less meat and less fish with more vegetables and focus more on tasty plant-based dishes. Actually, it was really easy to adapt these ingredients into our menu. We made some simple swaps in recipes and dishes that we were already serving. So for instance, we made a risotto, and this time we didn't use rice, but we used quinoa. We made a burger patty, not from meat, but we changed the burger patty into a patty made of beetroot and pulses. So get to know these Future 50 ingredients. They will not be available all in your region, but if you only use 1 or 2 per dish, that will really make a huge difference to your dishes, to your menu, and of course to the planet. So with Future 50 foods and the solutions from Noor, you can now cook more diverse than ever.
So I think that video really sums up a lot of it. And it's not about switching all of your ingredients 100% to this list of 50 ingredients, but it is about swapping some major ones out that can not only have, a great taste impact, but that nutritional impact as well, with just being more dense in that way, helps with supply chain issues, of course, sustainability and environmental impacts as well. Diversity of foods, diversity of crops that we're growing is massive. Local relevance. So we talk about the things, we've looked at lentils, something that, year round, climate wise, we can still sustain, and is something that's appropriate for the Canadian market. And then we also talk about social and agricultural feasibility. So I don't want to ignore the fact that this is something that could be more cost effective for you. This is important. It's not about asking, you as chefs to buy super expensive ingredients to swap out because it makes us feel better about, the environment and sustainability. These actually will have a financial benefit to you as well in utilizing these ingredients. I feel like Amy probably has lots of thoughts on it.
I love it. I just want to ask a quick question about what was the process in determining these ingredients and why they're more sustainable, or why did they make the norm 50?
So I love this question. These are the different factors that I just outlined. Each of them had kind of gauges that they were brought up against. So it was a very long process. That's also why we had to involve a variety of different partners. So we've tested different ingredients in crops with regards to greenhouse gas emissions, with figuring out, do they meet a certain requirement for nutrients with regards to fiber, protein, vitamins. Again, we think about, do they taste good? That has to be a part of it, right? Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point in promoting these ingredients?
Totally.
Because we want to give something that tastes really good. We do have a very detailed process that we've gone through, and we actually have a booklet that's available for anybody to download, a PDF. If you go to the Noor Future 50 website, so noorfuture50.com, or you can find it through the Unilever Foods Solutions Canada website as well. And you'll get really a detailed breakdown of what those parameters were within each of those segments.
Very cool. Very, 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 very cool.
It is very, very interesting. And it's exciting to work with. So at the end of the day, the ask of, us with other chefs, imploring them, if we will, to use these different ingredients is really about eating a greater variety of fruits and vegetables, right? So we had talked about a diverse mix of color, things that are affordable, can easily be used in a variety of different dishes. Switching out for plant-based protein. So we talked about that already, especially with Chef Rob's demonstration. It's like Friday and I'm not, but it's not.
Okay, another question for you.
Yeah.
just in terms of, you talked about swapping out ingredients, and that's like the most difficult thing for operations is, okay, we have these solid winning recipes. How can I make them more plant-based, more plant-forward? So for example, if I'm making like a ground beef, I'll use things like crumbled tempeh, lentils, mushrooms, sometimes some walnuts, and then obviously using things like soy sauce and different umami type flavors to enhance and making sure that that texture is there. What, do you have any, how easy is it for these operations to kind of redesign their menus to incorporate more plant-based things? What do you think?
And it can be very easy. I think that goes back to the initial point of, it doesn't mean that we just switch everything up, right? It can just be 1 or 2 ingredients here or there. It can be ingredients that you likely already have on hand. It's just leveraging using it in a different way. And it doesn't necessarily need to require a ton of skill, right? So one of the dishes that the dish I'm going to show today, Rob and I were on the same wavelength. We both, you'll see, are leveraging a lot of the same types of flavors. Mine's not a Korean dish. I am focusing on a Japanese dish that is very common to everybody, just to show how easy these subs can be. And I am going to make a spicy yam maki roll. So I love sushi. It's amazing. We all love it. I don't know about you though, but like, you eat a whole bunch of pieces and then you feel so stuffed because of all the rice. Maybe regret it. It has that perception of being healthy, but you know that you're eating a lot of things that are going to add up over time. So we want to make just a couple simple swaps. And obviously this is not super traditional, but it is something where if you offer, a variety of global cuisines on your menu, this is a really easy thing that you can do. And I would also recommend, for those that are not even strictly plant-based restaurants, being able to offer something like this as a shareable or as a starter. Often you'll see that a lot of those types of plates tend to lean towards plant-based as it is anyway. And something that has kind of lighter twist to it can really help in adding that to your menu.
I love it. So what are you using?
Oh, sorry?
Oh, what are you using?
So instead of rice, although the wild rice that Chef Rob had used that was puffed on top of his dish is considered one of the Future 50 ingredients. I'm going to be using quinoa here. So really, really simple to make, obviously, just boil it up. And unlike, Japanese rice, where we really get that stickiness coming off of it, that's that starch that's really helping it stick together, because of course that's going to be very important in making sure that your roll does not fall immediately apart. Is that I'm going to have to use the help of some other ingredients, but again, very, very simple. So I'm going to add some of my cooked quinoa into the bowl here. Even though I'm not going to use all that, I will never. It's like when I make burritos, I always add too much filling to it and I can't close it.
Yeah, I love it too, because quinoa is a complete protein. It contains all 9 essential amino acids that our body requires. So it's a great plant-based source of protein, and it will keep you fuller for longer.
Absolutely. And although it does have a little bit of that nutty taste to it, there's going to be a lot of other flavors in here that are going to help really balance that out. So again, it's not going to taste like traditional sushi, but you'll still get the essence of, and there's so many different ways in which you can get creative with this. So you're probably wondering what I added in there. I've got my huge food service format here, but is the Hellmann's vegan mayo. So this is what Chef Rob had used as well for his vegan ranch dressing. And it really is phenomenal to make a whole bunch of different vegan dressings. We had some great recipes for Caesar dressings, Caesar salad dressings as well, because it really does carry a lot of other flavors really well. And in Canada is now made with canola oil, which I think gives it a really nice taste and a really nice texture to it. So now that I have more of the texture that I want, right, I'm looking for kind of that stickiness a little bit. I am going to, I'm going to probably embarrass myself because I actually haven't done rolled sushi in a while at home.
You can do it. I love the canola oil add too, because it's also a good source of omega-3 fatty acids, which is really important for good.
Exactly. And it's just other starches that help thicken that up. So that's really nice. It's very clean. Obviously, it's gluten-free. So, Amy, I know you don't know this about me, but I'm a celiac.
Oh
So
no.
everything I do is obviously has to be gluten-free.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy. All of these things come together, and you're not missing out on anything.
No.
Whether it's gluten or whether it would be, you know, some other heavier items or meat-based items. So
I love that because I get the question all the time. Well, what do you actually eat if you don't eat da 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 da? It's like no, there's so many options. Don't really worry about me.
Whenever I talk to somebody that's like, oh, I just got diagnosed and I have to eat gluten-free, or I know somebody that needs to eat gluten-free. I know this is what's meant to be about plant-based, but they say like, do you have, you know, things that you recommend for them to buy at the grocery store? And I'm like, they're normal stuff. Hopefully you're not buying a lot of processed food as it is.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, it's all the same things. And that's what makes this lovely too, right? When you're eating plant-based, it's so much, maybe I just need to get more of a life, but it is so much fun to go through the produce aisle and see what looks fresh, see what looks good. And this is why it's such a good thing as a restaurant owner to have a good relationship with your Cisco partner. So you can understand what's in season, you know, what's available. And if you have the luxury of being able to make slight alterations every once in a while to your menu, doing it based on the fact that you can incorporate different produce that may be seasonal at the time.
Love it. Speaking of produce, what are you putting in there in terms of, are you putting
so what I'm putting in here is, I was actually surprisingly easily being able to find Indonesian red yam, or sweet potato. I know there is a difference, but in North America, we so easily
use it interchangeably. Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So what I did, because I wanted some of that umami we had talked about, is I roasted them. These little, they almost look like sweet potato fries here. I tossed them in tamari. So again, similar to that soy sauce flavor profile, just sans the wheat that's added during that process, and a tiny bit of maple syrup.
Beautiful.
I wanted to really bring forward, although it already has some natural sweetness to it, I wanted to add some flavor complexity to what was going into the filling of this.
Yeah, I love it. The Canadian, I put maple syrup in everything. I joke. Add maple syrup to balance it out. I love the sweet and salty combination. That sounds amazing.
And you know what's interesting? You say that, you know, adding maple syrup to everything, but often when somebody says, can you taste this? What do you think is missing?
Yeah. Balance.
More often than not, it's sweetness. And I feel like that's one of the things that we tend to ignore. You know, is it salty enough? Is it what? So maple syrup, obviously an excellent way to do that. Again, building up that flavor complexity, especially as you are eating plant-based. So I've added some spinach here. Again, another Nor Future 50 ingredient. Love spinach. So I just wanted some green. I wanted a little bit of that color contrast happening. And then pickling. We talked about this with Chef Rob. So these are actually white icicle radishes. So they're part of the daikon family. And daikon, as you know, is very readily available in this market. Very, very hearty as well. So it really can stand up to harsh growing seasons. The nice thing about this is, one, it not only is reminiscent of Japanese pickled vegetables that you will often see in a lot of different rolls, but again, texture, it's going to have that nice crunchiness to it. It's going to have that nice acidic part to it. So now we're balancing out that sweet potato with the maple syrup and the umami from the tamari. So it's really just going to be a flavor sensation, because that's the thing, right? We want to switch these ingredients in there that we know are sustainable, we know are nutritious, but we got to have that flavor.
Yeah, most definitely. A little bit of spice too. I love how the daikon has a little bitter spiciness as well. So I asked this question for Rob, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So again, from a plant-based perspective, how do you make plant-based food exciting for customers or for operations, in addition to making them cost-effective? What are some of your go-to techniques?
It starts right at the beginning of the process of how you're going to sell it. Like you had talked about, or we had talked about previously, is how you talk about things on the menu. Because before they even see the dish, I want to know, what is your cooking technique So, you know, if Rob is talking about his, I think he called them like lentil nugs. If we talk about like crispy, golden, you know, adding all of those descriptors in there that really bring that flavor through. I think how the dish in itself is then presented to the table. I think shareables, I mean, especially as we're lifting a lot of mandates and people can see each other again and go back into restaurants, are not only a great way for people to be more adventurous with trying different foods they usually wouldn't, but I think just can really make it fun in how you present it, having little bite-sized things with a lot of variety. And for me, this is why I've always loved the whole idea of even bowls. Traditionally, like for me, they'd be very plant-forward or plant-based. I don't rely on meat when I'm making a bowl. Texture, color, those are the things you have to remember. And then all of those flavor sensations.
Yeah.
So some people think I go a little overboard. But I say it's just the right amount to really have somebody say, this is craveable. I want to go back. I need to have that again.
That Moorishness. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to
The Moorishness. And I liked this part too.
I want to see roll. Are you ready for rolling? Drum roll.
I also added some sesame seeds, another extra 50 ingredient, and the nori itself is also one of the seaweeds.
I love it.
That is part of the Future 50. So I do 2/3 of the way with the rice. I have my plastic wrap on here, and it's opening again.
Beautiful.
See, this is so embarrassing.
No, you're doing great. You can do it.
You're so motivated.
I always say, if my presentation, I'm into styling and food styling, but it's really what it tastes like that matters.
It's true. Thank you for saying that. Also, you can tell you're a mom. That's very motivating. It's the attempt. Well, what you really want to do is practice this a lot before you do it on live television. So learn from my mistakes.
I think
it's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
So, and
you can make these ahead of time too, right? If you're doing service,
absolutely.
and then just slice them as you need, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so this actually turned out pretty nicely.
Yay! Okay.
For myself. So I'm going to cut some up, and I'm actually going to put on some. I mixed. So although yes, we do have the spicy mayo, which has a real mayo base to it. I don't know why I'm doing quotations. A real mayo base, which of course contains egg. I used the Hellmann's vegan and added some sriracha to it, to make this one. So I'm utilizing this twice. I'm going to do a little bit of a cut. Make sure that you have a very sharp knife. This was actually the knife that I had bought when I was last in Japan. So very appropriate that I'm using this for my sushi.
I love it. And I think you're dead on.
Smells so good. Honestly, there's something about the smell of sushi for me. Like I would never eat seaweed sheets on their own, but like everything together with the pickled, and I will bring this over closer. And yes, Jay, I'm notorious for eating a dish before I take a picture because I'm so excited about it, but I will take a picture.
I'm not going to comment. I've been sitting back just enjoying this.
Are you afraid of me yet?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I've been watching all this, just blown away, listening to the conversation, watching Chef try to do sushi.
I did it, guys.
You did it. You killed it.
I'm gonna actually
Let's see it close up.
My camera's far away.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, it looks so good.
So I'm going to throw a few things in here too, just because I've done some of these things like with sushi and doing like the vegan style and the plant-based style. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, what I love doing with those kind of things is not just having them in that appetizer or shareable format, but I like doing them as garnishes on plates. Right? So I started using that, like taking one of those and putting it on a salad, or taking two and putting it in a salad, right? Or you're doing a bowl, a plant-based bowl, and you're putting a few of those on top. It really enhances it because they're so beautiful, and using lentils and plant-based products and all those things in there. The colors are gorgeous. So you just beautiful. Let's now see you do the reversal style sushi roll.
I do have to say though, as you I did have a bite. The end.
Did you have a bite? There's no bites.
I did.
There's no bites. But can you start now? Do the opposite, the inside out version?
No.
The show. We'll do that next
Come
time.
on, you can do it. You can do it. No, that's
it
brilliant.
has a lot of flavor. A lot of really good flavor, and it all goes together really well. So
I'm gonna try it. Okay, I'm gonna try the bites, and I'm gonna try the quinoa sushi. Thank you for being so inspiring today.
So can we bring in
so
Chef?
much.
Can we bring Chef
I
Robin?
wanted to add one more thing, Jay and Amy.
Yeah.
That if anybody that's watching wants to learn more about plant-based, like I said, obviously you can go to the NOR site and look at the Future 50 PDF. You can go to unileverfoodsolutions.com, and at unileverfoodsolutions.com we have the UFS Academy. And it's all virtual online training that's pre-recorded, and we have a huge section on plant-based that talks about everything between food styling, how to prepare vegetables in different ways that can really make them super satisfying for your customers. So make sure that you visit there.
Amazing.
And I want to thank you so much, Amy, for being a part of this.
Yeah, and I will throw into HSI Canada. We also have a ton of resources too for large food operations that are free, and our services are also free as well. So it's just so lovely to work with like-minded chefs. It's been such a delight. And thanks, Jay, for having me, and thank you,
Thank
Kyla
you
and Rob,
very much.
for your kitchen.
Yeah, Chef
Thank
Rob,
you
you
very
killed
much.
it. You killed it. You may get the award of the best recipe on SVK. Yeah.
Hey.
I appreciate that. I just
Yeah.
encourage anyone to
Beautiful.
plant a seed and grow something. It's magical every time it works for me. So it gives you a better connection to your food. Thank you for having me, and thanks for visiting our kitchen here in New Jersey.
Yay.
No problem. Thanks so much. And thank you, everyone. Unbelievable. Great show. I'm not going to say you're Ed McMahon. Most people watching this don't know who that is anyways. No one knows that anyways. That's all good. But anyways, thank you so much, Unilever. You guys kill it all the time. So I'm blown away. Blown away today. That's why I didn't say much. But anyways, thank you so much. Tune in again. Guess what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Food Service Influencer Friday. And we're doing plant-based vegetarian. Did I said it right, Amy? Lasagnas tomorrow. We're reviewing them tomorrow. Yes. No bites. We make Chef Ellie no bites before. No cheatsies. And she's going to be reviewing those tomorrow live. We're going to rate them good, great, or wow. Probably going to guess there's a lot of wow tomorrow, but that's live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then we're back next Thursday. I'm taking Wednesday and Tuesday off, by the way.
You deserve
a little bit of R&R. And next Tuesday, we're back from the Canes, and we're going to be celebrating International Women's Day. And also, we're actually extending it to Thursday, too, because it's on Tuesday. So we're going to extend it, right? So we have some amazing discussions there. And then we're back again for next Friday as well for Influencer Friday. So tune in, follow, subscribe, SVK Network. Only food service. Rob, you probably know this, but we're the only food service network that's live streaming every week in North America now. Like this, real content, not that baloney stuff you see on TV, but real stuff, real chefs, amazing content. So thank you so much to everyone, and have a great rest of your day. And like Rob said, go plant a seed. Love it.
Yeah, wonderful.
See you later. Kylie, do you want to go? And we're to the outro. Do the thing.
To the outro, Jay.
All right.